All right, welcome back to the Book Beat. And joining us for the first time is an author who has written a book that I know you all are going to find absolutely fascinating. It's called The Ultimate Mental Power, the ICO Meditation Technique. The young brother who's written it, his name is Roger M. Davis, and he's going to, also known as Baba Yor Dian Solex. Did I get that right, Roger?
A little bit off. It's Baba Dion Select.
Look at this.
And it's Eco Meditation Technique.
Eco Meditation Techniques. My apologies. The Ultimate Mental Power. The Eco Meditation Technique. Roger's joining us for the first time. Roger, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, brother. Peace and blessings to you and all your listeners as well.
Welcome to the Book Beat. It is just a delight to have you here. Hey, Roger, I've got your book. I've had a chance to read through it. Man, what an accomplishment. I need to know, what led you on this path to writing about ultimate mental power?
Well, it's been an ultimate journey. I would best explain it as a life journey. It's been the process of starting at a very young age, asking fundamental questions about why we're here, what are we here for, what are the bases for many of the problems we face in society, be it racism, sexism, many of the problems, homelessness. And I started at a very young age questioning that. I remember when I was in elementary school, I was very interested in social studies and history, and that prompted me to begin to explore and to look for answers.
Well, that seems, to actually start having those kinds of questions in your head as a young age, that's quite a compliment to you, my man.
Well, I credit that to my mother. She was the type of woman. I grew up in a public housing project in the Bronx, New York, but she was the type of person who instilled certain values, always took us out on weekends to museums, to the zoo, those kinds of things, and made us aware of many of the things that now we still are concerned about in this present period. That is, what are African Americans going to do as a people as we come to the new millennium? And then deeper questions about what is the nature of the conditions that exist in America and throughout the world as we approach this Y2K phenomenon coming up at the end of the year.
Ultimate mental power, the Eco Meditation Technique. This is grounded in, this book is grounded in several different, I want to say philosophies or principles. Am I not right?
That's correct. What inspired the book was I looked at a lot of the personal growth, inner growth, self-help kinds of programs and teachings that are being espoused by many people today, like Deepak Chopra, Ilana Van Zandt, Shakti Bhagwan, and I said to myself, where are they getting this from? What is the basis of these teachings? And so that led me into an exploration of the origins of many of these self-help, positive, inner growth programs. And I discovered that a lot of this is based in some of the ancient classical civilizations, in particular the Nile Valley civilization associated primarily with Egypt, and the Indus Valley civilization associated with India. And so I began to look at the philosophical systems that these two great civilizations developed, and also in particular the emphasis that they placed on self-development, or what we now basically know as the knowledge of the self. And much different than our focus today in modern society, which is basically materialism, materialistic, conspicuous consumption. The ancient cultures centered around self-development and centered around spirituality and some deeper kinds of processes than our kind of more or less cosmetic society we have today.
Roger, what is it about those philosophies that are so compelling, so attractive to so many people? What is it that they do or what is it that they espouse that others seem to miss?
Well, what they do specifically is they give us a formula, or what I more appropriately call applied spiritual technology. They give us a technology that allows us to access almost what we would call scientific principles of life, understanding life, and self-development. One of the other things that I discovered in the process of researching the book, as well as over the last 20 years of my own personal practice of meditation, yoga, and many of these inner growth systems, is that much of what we have based our lives on over the last 4,000 years of history is largely rooted in major religious systems, or the texts that come, or the scriptures that come from these religions. And one of the things that I identify in this book is that much of what we are operating from is in fact contaminated. Many of our ancient scriptures were interpolated or altered or changed for political or economic reasons. And as a result, a lot of the information that has been brought down over the generations is corrupted. Not dissimilar, I might add, from how a computer software program can be corrupted by a virus. In fact, there are viruses in the Bible, in the Quran, in the Gita, and many other of the ancient scriptures that have been placed there and often will mislead or confuse people from identifying their own path of inner power and self-development.
Well, that's an interesting analogy of the computer virus, a virus going into a software program, and the contamination of some of the things that we now take for granted, as being part of the ancient writings.
Yeah, and I spend several chapters in the book identifying this, in particular in terms of how the yogic system was corrupted, how certain philosophical systems that emanated out of India were altered and changed to accommodate the supremacy of the priesthood, to, in some cases, identify certain concepts that would allow other individuals to dominate other individuals, as in the caste system. And many of these same practices and processes extended, to this day in the things that exist in terms of class and race and other problems that we see still flowing from these alterations and changes.
Wow. Well, I want my listeners to get a real good sense of the amount of work and the type of information that's in here. One, we're looking at 424 pages, ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly. 19 chapters, 424 pages.
Whoa, I tell you. And
it's graphically illustrated. One of the things I wanted to make sure was that we not only gave people the information, but we displayed it in a pictorial way, in a graphic way, so that it would be a user-friendly guide. There are actual worksheets. There are things that you can use in the book that will help you set up your own meditation program.
And I like to use the old saying from when they used to make movies. They talk about years in the making. I'm holding the book that I know. This book, Ultimate Mental Power. How much time are we talking here, Raj?
In terms of how much time it takes to use the system, or
how long did it take you to put this together?
Oh, how long did it take me?
Yeah.
Well, I started working on this book in 1992.
Okay.
Of course, my work has spanned over 20 years now. The organization which I founded in 1979, which is called the International Academy of Ecologics and Advanced Studies, was developed to basically put into motion a reinterpretation and an understanding of how to take meditational practices and the yoga practices and apply them to the needs of people in the modern era. That we all can't become, like the sages of the past, and we operate in a modern technological society. So, we can't just all put on little robes and sit in, meditation caves somewhere or twist ourselves up like pretzels. There has to be a more practical expression of how to relate this to people who are living in urban communities and in a modern society. And that's one of the things that Ultimate Mental Power also addresses.
Well, let's give my listeners some sense of that practical application that you talk about in urban settings. Take a couple examples from your book. What would be some things that people in urban settings in reading this book? What are some different mental exercises that they can begin to engage in?
Well, one of the things that the book helps you to understand is various techniques in yoga, breathing techniques that can be helpful in stress reduction. There's a whole section of the book that deals with a yoga science called Dharana healing, which is a self-healing system. Some practical things that you can do on a daily basis to avoid debilitating or chronic illnesses or diseases that are, proliferating in our modern day society. And so there are a lot of practical things that the book offers, which can be used on a daily basis.
And is it so? It's the actual practice, using them on a daily basis, where you begin to, like anything, you begin to start to experience the results. What kind of results are people looking for?
Well, I think the main thing that a person can expect, and what, of course, the title of the book represents, is ultimate mental power. And what we're really speaking about is the ability to take control. So much of what goes on for us today is we're being schooled and socialized by our parents, by the school system, by social institutions, and people are losing touch with their inner power, with their self-power, with their God center. And so part of what the book focuses on is how to reclaim the self, how to begin to recreate yourself through a process of self-mastery. In the book, there are what we call the 13 instruments of self-power, and they're outlined as specific tools by which you can begin to master the self and develop your own mental power.
Roger, help my listeners understand what makes this book so much more different from that standard traditional self-help 24 pages book that we see on bookshelves.
Well, Lee, I think the easiest way I could explain it is that what this book does is not just give you the 10-point program or the 12-step program or, an outline of what you should do or positive affirmations, but what it does is it gives you a science. It gives you techniques, applied spiritual technology, which anyone can understand and use and incorporate into their daily lifestyle. And therefore the book takes on, as I've been talking to a lot of people who've been reading the book, and they're saying, wow, this is like a textbook, it's like a class, it's like, a process that I'm going through which is really deep. And that's kind of what this book does, as opposed to, I guess, a lot of the books out there which are mainly inspirational. They kind of inspire you to change your life. But what this book does is give you the guidelines and the actual practice of techniques that will begin that transformation.
Yes, I can attest that it moves you beyond inspiration and into action.
You got it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's it's such a marvelous. It's such a marvelous read, and the many of the concepts around yoga and meditation that you explore were very new to me, and I found myself really drawn to a lot of the illustrations and some of the thinking. You explore some Aztec philosophy. You talked about the ancient Aryans. It's like, wow, you exploring a whole bunch. It's just a whole bunch of stuff that's very, very valuable in this book.
Well, one of the things, Lee, in order to achieve that ultimate state of power, mental power, and self-power, you have to have a very good understanding of the historical past. And there are a lot of distortions, and like I said, it's important to understand from whence we came in order to understand where we're going.
And where are you going with this, my friend?
Well, we're beginning a national book signing tour.
That's what I want to hear.
It began last week, as a matter of fact. I was up at my alma mater, Cornell University, and did a book signing. It was seeing a lot of alumni and old friends there, and it was an opportunity to launch what I hope will not only be a book that is seen and heard on the college campuses, but is seen and heard in the communities. And so I'm hoping that we'll be able to reach your listeners. We'll hopefully come out to the Detroit area, and then also throughout the country, people who are responding to your on-site website and the internet work that you're doing, and hopefully we'll be able to touch a lot of people during the book tour. And after the book tour, basically I'll be conducting seminars and workshops and actually doing meditation intensives.
All right. See, I want people to make sure that they understood that, you know, this is a teaching seminar, continuous improvement experience that you're outlining for folks.
Yeah, and it's about what I call spiritual warfare. It's about coming to terms with how to go to battle for yourself. So often we're fighting for other people, other people's agendas, working for employers, and we're doing it at our expense. You know, we go to work and we're killing ourselves, smoking cigarettes, having coffee, in some cases some people even doing drugs just to cope with life. And there's a need to say, time out, hold off, let me spend some time with myself, let me develop myself and my abilities so that I can truly be an instrument of change in the community and ultimately help to transform the community I live in.
All right, well, let's make sure folks know where they can access your book.
Well, there's a good website that people can order the book from. It's the African American Literary Book Club. That's aaldc.com. It's also available through Amazon.com, or you can contact AKU Press International, and they're located at P.O. Box 1316, Wheat Ridge, Colorado 834, and I guess you can just go to your local bookstore.
Now this isn't the last that we're going to hear from you, is it?
I hope not. I'm really hoping that this book begins to awaken people to the real challenge that I think we face in the new millennium, which is returning to a real principle of self-empowerment and improving ourselves so that we can transform the world we live in. And, we've gone through a whole era of cynicism and corruption in politics and all the things that are making people very apathetic. But I think there's a bright future lying ahead of us, despite the doomsday talk. And I think if we all pay attention to that inner voice within, we're going to see some real change in the coming millennium.
Fine words of wisdom from a man who, ladies and gentlemen, has written, this Ultimate Mental Power, the title of the book. Even that it doesn't really capture everything that's in here. His name is Roger Davis. He's written a great book called The Ultimate Mental Power, the Eco Meditation Technique. You can order it through the African American Literary Book Club. You can also order it through Amazon.com, AKU Press International at P.O. Box 1316, Wheat Ridge, Colorado 80034. This is, I tell you, now that I have this book, the only thing that it lacks now, Roger, is actually your autograph.
well, I'll do that for you, Lee. One quick question in response.
Yeah.
As you read the book, did you sense that there was an opportunity for your own change to occur?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Then
I've done my job.
Okay.
The main thing is I didn't want to put out a book that, just repeats the same things. I want a book that really can help.
Well, I can testify that I read enough of the other kind to know that this book takes it to another level.
Well, I appreciate the comment.
Oh no, and that's the absolute truth, my friend. So, you continued good luck with the book and getting the seminar out there, and anything that we can do to help advance the cause. You're part of the Book Beat family now, so you have open invitation to return anytime you want.
Well, I'd love to come back, and if you do any kinds of online kinds of things, I'd be glad to do that with you as well.
Okay. All right. Well, Roger, you take it easy out there. Good luck at your book signings.
And once again, I wish your listeners peace and blessings.
Thank you very much. Take care. All right, that was Roger Davis with the book Ultimate Mental Power. Woo!